Understanding love. Understanding love is one of the hardest things in the world. Deep within us, no matter who we are, there lives a feeling of wanting to be lovable, of wanting to be the kind of person that others like to be with. And the greatest thing we can do is to let people know that they are loved and capable of loving. Love isn't a state of perfect caring. It is an active noun, like struggle. To love someone is to strive to accept that person exactly the way he or she is, right here and now. Each generation, in its turn, is a link between all that has gone before and all that comes after. That is true genetically, and it is equally true in the transmission of identity. Our parents gave us what they were able to give, and we took what we could of it and made it part of ourselves. If we knew our grandparents, and even great-grandparents, we will have taken from them what they could offer us too. All that helped to make us who we are. We, in our turn, will offer what we can of ourselves to our children and their offspring. It's the people we love most who can make us feel the gladdest and the maddest. Love and anger are such a puzzle. It's hard for us as adults to understand and manage our angry feelings toward parents, spouses, and children, or to keep their anger toward us in perspective. It's a different kind of anger from the kind we may feel toward strangers, because it is so deeply intertwined with caring and attachment. If the day ever came when we were able to accept ourselves and our children exactly as we and they are, then I believe we would have come very close to an ultimate understanding of what good parenting means. It's part of being human to fall short of that total acceptance, and often far short. But one of the most important gifts a parent can give a child is the gift of accepting that child's uniqueness. It always helps to have people we love beside us when we have to do difficult things in life. People have said, "Don't cry," to other people for years and years, and all it has ever meant is, "I'm too uncomfortable when you show your feelings. Don't cry." I'd rather have them say, "Go ahead and cry. I'm here to be with you." Grandparents are both our past and our future. In some ways, they are what has gone before, and in others, they are what we will become. Forgiving and forgetting are often paired together, but the one certainly doesn't necessarily follow the other. Some injuries, real or imagined, we may never be able to forget, even though we say we've forgiven them. Other injuries, we may never even be able to say that we forgive. Those are the ones, it seems to me, most likely to involve people we've loved. And so I'm inclined to look at what our experiences of forgiveness may have been like from the first people who loved us. The first time we required forgiveness, we probably did something we shouldn't have when our closest grown-ups thought we should have known better. We made someone angry. We were to blame. What did the first brush with blame begin to teach us? If we were fortunate, we began to learn that to err is to human. Even good people sometimes do bad things. Errors might mean corrections, apologies, repairs, but they didn't mean that we, as a person, were a bad person in the sight of those we loved. The second thing we learned, if we were fortunate, was that having someone we loved get mad at us did not mean that person had stopped loving us. We had their unconditional love. and that meant we would have their forgiveness too. One of my wise teachers, Dr. Willem F. Orr, told me, "There is only one thing evil cannot stand, and that is forgiveness." Love and trust, in the space between what is said and what's heard in our life, can make all the difference in this world. A competition, it's a word that makes many of us very edgy, and it's a situation that we have probably been living with since we were very small. For some people, competition is a thrill, a stimulation, a challenge. For others, it's a source of sadness and anger and apprehension. For still others, it's a mixture of all those things. It's not possible to go through life without competing. As one woman told me, competition is part of our everyday life, whether we're competing for a job, or on the soccer field, or for love. There are many kinds of competition, to be sure, but I think that love does have something to do with them all. In fact, I believe that if we've ever wanted someone's love, then we know what competition really means. Helen Ross was a good friend who taught teachers, doctors, and psychiatrists, and consulted with professionals working with children and families all over the world. She was one of the great people of our age in the understanding of the dynamic development of human beings. After one operation for cancer and some subsequent therapy, Helen chose to refuse treatment when her cancer reappeared. One day when I visited her, I found Helen very frail, yet interested in all that I had to tell her about our television work and her Pittsburgh friends. Some of the time I just held her hand and we said nothing. We didn't have to. After one of those silences, Helen said to me, "Do you ever pray for people, Fred?" "Of course I do." So I said, "Dear God, encircle us with thy love wherever we may be." And Helen replied, "That's what it is, isn't it? It's love. That's what it's all about." Helen was 88 when she died. She had spent most of her adult life working at and understanding the complexities of human growth and development, and her summation of life was that love is what it's all about. From the song, "It's You I Like." It's you I like. It's not the things you wear. It's not the way you do your hair, but it's you I like. The way you are right now, the way down deep inside you, not the things that hide you, not your toys, they're just beside you. But it's you I like. Every part of you, your skin, your eyes, your feelings, whether old or new. And I hope that you'll remember, even when you're feeling blue, that it's you I like, it's you yourself, it's you I like. There's something unique about being a member of a family that really needs you in order to function well. One of the deepest longings a person can have is to feel needed and essential. Actor David Carradine, son of John Carradine, said in gratitude of his father's accomplishments, "I could stand on his shoulders and feel twice as tall. That each generation could stand on the shoulders of the last and feel twice as tall is a poetic hope for all our families." My own friend and companion when I was little and didn't yet have a sister, was Mitzi, a brown, wire-haired mongrel. We played and had long conversations during which she heard many of my secrets and shared my joys and sadness. We ran in the fields and huddled together through thunderstorms. I gave a great deal of myself to Mitzi, and she faithfully reflected that self back to me, helping me learn more about who I was and, in those early days, what I was feeling. When she died, she went on teaching me about loss and grief, and about renewal of hope and joy. The gifts we treasure most over the years are often small and simple. In easy times and in tough times, what seems to matter most is the way we show those nearest to us that we've been listening to their needs, to their joys, and to their challenges. I received a letter from a parent who wrote, "Mr. Rogers, how do you do it? I wish I were like you. I want to be patient and quiet and even-tempered and always speak respectfully to my children. But that just isn't my personality. I often lose my patience and even scream at my children. I want to change from an impatient person into a patient person, from an angry person to a gentle one." Just as it takes time for children to understand what real love is, it takes time for parents to understand that being always patient, quiet, even-tempered, and respectful isn't necessarily what good parents are. In fact, parents help children by expressing a wide range of feelings, including appropriate anger. All children need to see that the adults in their lives can feel anger and not hurt themselves or anyone else when they feel that way. As parents, we need to try to find the security within ourselves to accept the fact that children and parents won't always like each other's actions, that there will be times when parents and children won't be able to be friends, and that there will be times of real anger in families. But we need to know at the same time that moments of conflict have nothing to do with whether parents and children really love one another. It's our continuing love for our children that makes us want them to become all they can be, capable of making sound choices. Forgiveness is a strange thing. It can sometimes be easier to forgive our enemies than our friends. It can be hardest of all to forgive people we love. Like all of life's important coping skills, the ability to forgive and the capacity to let go of resentments most likely take root very early on in our lives. Mutually caring relationships require kindness and patience, tolerance, optimism, joy in the other's achievements, confidence in oneself, and the ability to give without undue thought of gain. We need to accept the fact that it's not in the power of any human being to provide all these things all the time. For any of us, mutual caring relationships will also always include some measure of unkindness and impatience, intolerance, pessimism, envy, self-doubt, and disappointment. In times of stress, the best thing we can do for each other is to listen with our ears and our hearts, and to be assured that our questions are just as important as our answers. One of the strongest things we have to wrestle with in our lives is the significance of the longing for perfection in ourselves and in the people bound to us by friendship or parenthood or childhood. The greatest gift you could ever give is your honest self. In the giving of help, a parent experiences one of the best feelings that any of us can have, that life has meaning because we are needed by someone else. Watching a baby grow with our help tells us other things we like to feel about ourselves, that we are competent and loving. It's not always easy for a father to understand the interest and the ways of his son. It seems the songs of our children may be in keys we've never tried. The melody of each generation emerges from all that's gone before. Each one of us contributes in some unique way to the composition of life. I believe that infants and babies whose mothers give them loving comfort whenever and however they can are truly the fortunate ones. I think they're more likely to find life's times of trouble manageable, and I think that they may also turn out to be the adults most able to pass loving concern along to generations that follow after them. Learning and loving go hand in hand. My grandfather was one of those people who loved to live and loved to teach. Every time I was with him, he'd show me something about the world or something about myself that I hadn't even thought of yet. He'd help me find something wonderful in the smallest of things, and ever so carefully, he helped me understand the enormous worth of every human being. My grandfather was not a professional teacher, but the way he treated me and the way he loved me and the things he did with me served me as well as any teacher I've ever known. I do love being a grandfather, and I wonder if it wasn't because my grandfather McFeely loved me so much, and I had such a good time with him. You bring all you ever were and are to any relationship you have today. In the external scheme of things, shining moments are as brief as a twinkling of an eye. Yet, such twinklings are what eternity is made of. Moments when we human beings can say, I love you. I'm proud of you. I forgive you. I'm grateful for you. That's what eternity is made of. Invisible, imperishable, good stuff. We need to help people to discover the true meaning of love. Love is generally confused with dependence. Those of us who have grown in true love know that we can love only in proportion to our own capacity for independence. Children who have learned to be comfortably dependent can become not only comfortably independent, but can also become comfortable with having people depend on them. They can lean or stand and be leaned upon, because they know what a good feeling it can be to feel needed. Love is like infinity. You can't have more or less infinity, and you can't compare two things to see if they're equally infinite. Infinity just is, and that's the way I think love is too. Listening is a very active awareness of the coming together of at least two lives. Listening, as far as I'm concerned, is certainly a prerequisite of love. One of the most essential ways of saying, I love you, is being a receptive listener. Listening is where love begins, listening to ourselves and then to our neighbors. Human relationships are primary in all of living. When the gusty winds blow and shake our lives, if we know that people care about us, we may bend with the wind, but we won't break. When we love a person, we accept him or her exactly as is, the lovely with the unlovely, the strong along with the fearful, the true mixed in with the facade. And of course, the only way we can do it is by accepting ourselves that way.